Imagine standing on the surface of the moon. No air, no sound, just endless grey dust, and a freezing darkness that lasts for 14 days at a time. For decades, scientists dreamed of building a human base on the moon. But one challenge always stood in the way: energy. How do you power life in a place where night lasts longer than an Earth week, and where temperatures drop to 73 degrees Celsius? Solar panels seem like the obvious answer. But on the moon, sunlight disappears for half the month. And when the long lunar night arrives, everything goes silent. Batteries die, equipment freezes, life support stops. So NASA, along with the US Department of Energy, proposed something bold, something never done before: a fully operating nuclear fission reactor on the moon by the year 2030. Not a giant power plant, not a sci-fi fusion core, but a small, portable reactor, powerful enough to run a lunar base and light enough to be delivered by a rocket. If this succeeds, it will be the first time in human history that nuclear power leaves Earth and becomes part of our presence in space. But that raises a question we've never had to ask before. Should we take nuclear energy into space? And if we do, who controls it? What do you think? Is this the beginning of a new era of space colonization, or the first step toward turning the moon into a battlefield of technology and power? For years, the idea of building a nuclear reactor on the moon sounded like science fiction. But in late 2023, NASA made it official. A full-scale prototype is already in development, and the target year for deployment is 2030. This project is called Fission Surface Power, and the goal is simple but historic: produce 40 kilowatts of continuous power, enough for a small lunar base, operate in total darkness for years, survive extreme temperatures, radiation, and lunar dust, be small enough to fit inside a spacecraft, and land safely on the moon. Unlike reactors on Earth, this system won't need water, cooling towers, or huge shielding walls. It's designed like a sealed metal cylinder, about the size of a large SUV, built to run for 10 years without refueling. NASA isn't working alone. 3 major companies were selected to design the first prototypes: Lockheed Martin, Westinghouse, and IX, a joint venture between Intuitive Machines and X-Energy. Each team is racing to answer the same question: how do you build a nuclear reactor that works in a place with no air, no liquid water, no maintenance, and no second chances? Because once it lands there, it has to work. You can't send a repair crew to the moon the same way you fix a reactor on Earth. But this raises something deeper, something geopolitical. Whoever builds the first permanent energy source on the moon may control the future of lunar industry, mining, and even settlement. So here's the real question: is this just a scientific mission, or the beginning of an energy race beyond Earth? Picture a small metallic cylinder standing on the moon, silent, sealed, and running non-stop for 10 years. Unlike nuclear plants on Earth, this reactor doesn't need water, cooling towers, or teams of engineers in protective suits. It works on a simple idea: fission. Splitting atoms of uranium releases heat, and that heat is converted into electricity. But here's the challenge. On Earth, gravity and atmosphere help cool a reactor. On the moon, there is no air, no wind, no convection, only vacuum, which means the reactor has to release its heat through radiators, giant panels that glow with infrared energy, dumping excess heat into space. It sounds futuristic, but the core physics is the same as every reactor built since the 1950s, just smaller, lighter, fully automated, and designed to survive cosmic radiation, lunar dust, and temperatures that swing by 300 degrees Celsius in a single month. Once activated, the reactor doesn't need human hands. It starts itself. It regulates itself. It shuts itself down if something goes wrong. A power plant that behaves more like a smart machine. But here's the thought that changes everything. If we can place a working nuclear reactor on the moon, there is nothing stopping us from putting one on Mars, or on an asteroid, or on a ship headed to Saturn. So ask yourself, is this the moment space becomes permanently powered or permanently weaponized? At first glance, it seems ridiculous. Why use nuclear energy when the sun is right there shining over the moon? The problem is simple. The moon has night. A very long night. 14 days of sunlight, followed by 14 days of total darkness. No solar panel can survive that without massive batteries. And batteries mean weight. And weight means billions of extra dollars in rocket launches. Even if solar farms were built, moon dust, sharp like glass and electrostatically charged, would coat every panel, cutting power in just hours. And the real killer? Lunar temperatures drop below 170 degrees Celsius during the long nights. Electronics freeze, lubricants solidify, machinery locks. A nuclear reactor doesn't care about darkness. It doesn't need sunlight. It doesn't shut down at night. It runs whether it's day, night, dust storm, or lunar eclipse. That's why NASA calls nuclear power the key technology for sustained presence beyond Earth. So here's the uncomfortable truth. Solar panels work for astronauts who visit the moon, but not for humans who plan to stay. Does that change how you see the future of space energy? Every time the word nuclear is mentioned, one question always rises first. What if it fails? A reactor exploding on the moon wouldn't cause a Chernobyl-style cloud. There's no air to carry radiation. But shards of radioactive material could scatter across the surface for thousands of years. Worse, it could fail during launch. A rocket carrying a nuclear core could break apart in Earth's atmosphere, spreading radioactive dust across oceans, cities, farmland. NASA claims the design is launch-safe, but history is full of failed rockets. Even SpaceX, the most successful launcher on Earth, has seen boosters explode on live broadcast. Then there's the military question. If one country puts a reactor on the moon, is that a scientific tool or a strategic asset? Because a reactor can power life support, but it can also power lasers, refineries, communication jammers, even weapons. So here's the question most space agencies avoid. Are we solving an energy problem or creating a nuclear foothold in space? The moon is no longer a scientific playground. It's becoming territory. The United States isn't the only country planning nuclear power in space. China has already announced its own Lunar Reactor project. Russia proposed a nuclear-powered base back in 2010. Even private companies are filing patents for off-world reactors. And now, laws and treaties are being rewritten quietly. The 1967 Outer Space Treaty banned nuclear weapons in space, but said nothing about nuclear power. So technically, every country is free to build as many reactors as they want, as long as they claim it's for peaceful use. This isn't science anymore. It's geopolitics, played on a surface 384,000 kilometers away. The first nation to create permanent power on the moon may also be the first to mine its water, extract its metals, and claim its territory. So here's the real question. Is this humanity expanding, or just the same competition pushed into the sky? Forget Hollywood domes and glass cities. The first moon base will be small, hidden, and brutally practical. A reactor buried under lunar soil for radiation shielding. Habitat modules connected like pressurized tubes. Greenhouses lit by artificial LEDs instead of sunlight. Rovers, labs, 3D printed structures made from lunar dust. Inside, the oxygen will come from melted ice and processed rock. The food, partly grown, partly delivered. Water, recycled endlessly. The base will feel less like a city and more like a submarine in a desert. But if it works, humanity takes a permanent step out of Earth. So think about this. Would you live on a frozen world if it meant becoming part of human history? No one asked the public. No one voted on it. No global debate was held. A handful of engineers, policymakers, and military-backed investors decided, yes, we will put nuclear power beyond Earth. Is that progress or arrogance? If humanity has the technology to build power plants on other worlds, should we do it just because we can? Or should space remain free from nuclear expansion until all countries agree on rules? The question is no longer scientific. It is moral, and the answer will decide how we treat every world after the moon. The moon is only step one. If nuclear power works there, it becomes the model for Mars, where sunlight is weak and dust storms last for months. Then Titan, a moon of Saturn with no light but oceans of methane. Then deep space ships, powered not by solar panels, but miniature reactors. The moment we succeed once, space stops being dark, cold, and unreachable. It becomes electrified. So here's the big question. Is the moon a final destination, or just a test site for the rest of the solar system? And so, the story of the first nuclear reactor on the moon is not just about energy, it's about power, responsibility, and the future of human expansion. If the plan succeeds, it will change everything we know about living beyond Earth. If it fails, it may become the most dangerous experiment ever launched into space. So now, I'll leave the final question to you. Should humanity bring nuclear power to the moon, or should the moon remain untouched? What do you think? If you want the next episode, where we explore what a real lunar city will look like by 2050, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and leave a comment with your thoughts. This is just the beginning. You're watching Cosmic Reflections. Until next time, keep looking up.